All right, now before we get into the specifics of the plays that we're going to work on here, I think it's important to cover some of our offensive philosophy, to discuss the whys of why we do things, and then we'll get into the hows and how we're trying to accomplish our goals. Our offense philosophically, we're a spread offense, so the first thing that we're trying to accomplish is we want to stretch the field both horizontally and vertically. We want to force a defense to defend the entire width of the field and to defend the depth of the field. We're going to force the width of the field through our formations and spreading the defense out. And then we're going to attack the depth of the field by throwing the ball vertically and testing the defender's ability to defend the long ball. The basis of the offense is based behind the concept of numbers, angles, and grass. And it sounds kind of simplistic, but what we're trying to look at is, number one, where do we have numbers? Where do we have a numbers advantage to get a hat on a hat and to attack the defense? We're looking for numbers in the run game first. We don't want to have to run against the numbers. We don't want to have to run against overloaded defenses. So we also have to be able to throw with the numbers. So if a defense is giving you numbers to run, then of course we're going to try to run the football. If they're forcing us because they're overloading the box or they're putting too many defenders up there where we cannot get a hat on a hat, then you've got to be able to throw the ball to be successful also. So we're looking at our numbers is one of the basis of the offense. And the second thing is our angles. Where do we have blocking angles to get a hat on a hat and give our guys the greatest opportunity to be successful in executing their individual blocks. And the ultimate goal of the numbers and angles philosophy is to get the ball in the grass. We want to get the ball in the open field where one of our athletes can make a play on one of their athletes. The other way that we're going to pressure the defense is by controlling the tempo of the game. We are a no-huddle offense. And so we want to press the defense from a tempo standpoint. We want to force them to operate at our pace. And that's going to put pressure on that defensive coordinator across the field from you because he's going to have to prepare his kids for a variety of formations and also to prepare them to operate at a fast tempo, which is very hard to simulate through the course of the week in practice. It's very hard to emulate the tempo that we're going to put on that defense. The other thing about being no huddle, which comes along with the tempo, is that we're able to audibilize and make adjustments from the press box because the play clock, we kind of take the play clock out of the equation. And we're able to make our audibles from the press box and get our kids in the best possible play for success. There's many times throughout the course of the game where you make a play call and you look out on the field and you realize that it's not, your guys don't have a great opportunity to be successful on that play, but the play clock limits your ability to audibilize. And by being no huddle and controlling the tempo of the game, we're also able to eliminate the play clock from the equation. Some of the things that we are specific objectives that we're trying to accomplish, number one is we want to execute our system with speed, precision, and physicalness. The speed, that all comes in with the tempo and controlling the tempo of the game and attacking at a fast pace. The precision is what you're doing every day in practice and the demands you're putting on your players to execute. Being a perfectionist and striving for that perfect execution. And the physicalness, the one thing that about a spread offense that we kind of take offense to is when people term our offense finesse. One thing that we'll never be is finesse. We want to operate with physicalness and really pound the defense. One of the other things, number two on our list of objectives, is that we want to be among the nation's leaders in ball security and rushing yardage. And one of the things that we sell our running backs on is that if they take care of the football and they're very disciplined in their reads, that there will be a lot of yards out there on the field for them to gain. And we sell them on that, and the statistics of the offense have really proven that out, that we can be among the nation's leaders in ball security and rushing. Our third objective is to have an explosive and consistent passing attack. One of the key statistics that we look at is pass efficiency. We don't necessarily have to look at our yardage to be successful. We want to be very efficient in our passing game. We want to have the ability to stretch the field vertically and to attack the field vertically, but we also need to have the ability to have a consistent and high completion percentage passing game where we can move the chains when we need to. Again, we were going to establish a tempo in every game. That's one of our specific objectives, is establish the tempo in every game. And then the fifth objective that we have is to be the hardest working, most disciplined, best conditioned team in America. And that really goes back to our training. And when we stress that from day one, that in order for us to operate at the tempo we want to, in order for us to press the defense, we need to be in better condition, we need to be in better shape, and that is a year-round way of life for our players. The first thing we want to discuss in our zone blocking principles is how we identify fronts. And our front identification is very critical for our offensive linemen and tight ends and fullbacks and whatnot to understand which hat they're working to in the defensive set. This first formation that is drawn up here is an ace formation, 2 tight, 12 personnel, 2 tight, 1 back set. And what we've drawn it up here versus is what we would call an even front, okay? And an even front for us is obviously is a 4-down front where we don't have a true Mike linebacker. This is if you want to call it a 4-4 or a split 4 look, where we don't have a true Mike. In our even sets or even man or even front rules in our zone blocking schemes, that is going to tell our tight end that he's working out of the box. So he would actually, his hat that he'd be working to would be the strong safety. Our tackle would be working the first down lineman outside of him, okay? On an even front, our center would be working to the front side linebacker, and he'd be combination block with the guard. On the back side, we're trying to work this through to the Mike, and our backside tight end has got the cutoff block. We will control the will backer with the threat of the naked off of our zone play, okay? And so this is how we would recognize, how we'd identify an even man front, and then the blocking scheme that goes along with that. Now, if I just took the tight ends and removed them, if I just remove the tight ends and make those guys wideouts, obviously the defense has got to adjust accordingly. And as they just widen out their defenders by width, to defend the width of the field, it still has stayed the same in the core. So for our 5 offensive linemen, it is still what we would consider an even front. It's still 4 down linemen. There's not a true Mike linebacker. Our center and front side guard combination are going to the front side backer. Now the guy that we control with the threat of the naked or with the read portion of the zone play is the backside end. So you can see as how we spread the defense out, it still stays the same for our 5 offensive linemen. Okay, the next front that we want to talk about is what we call an even stack front. And on stack defense, that's a 3 linebacker set. That's where you have a true Mike linebacker. Again, the even part of it is telling our guys up front that we've got 4 down linemen, but now we do have a true Mike backer that's set right in the middle of the formation. Generally, with an even stack look, you're going to have some kind of cover 2 or cover 4 scheme over the top of the defense. Okay, on an even stack now, what the difference being between even and even stack is that is now telling our tight end tackle combination that they are staying in the box. Okay, they'll be working to the front side linebacker. We can't ask our center to get all the way over to the front side linebacker now. So our tackle tight end combination on the front side will stay in the box. Our center now is working to the Mike backer. He's working to that middle linebacker. Backside, we're pulling it through and getting our backside cutoff blocks working up to the will. Okay. Obviously, we don't have a backside defender right now to hold with the naked, but we're still going to naked out of there and control, hopefully control a backside safety with the threat of the naked. And that would be our zone play versus even stack. Okay, the next front that we want to look at in our zone combos is our odd front. And the way that we are going to fit up on an odd front is our tight ends will block man on. Okay, our tackle and guard combination is working up to the mic. We'll work a backside scoop block up to our backside backer. And then depending on whether the safety's down or not, we can either lock it on the backside if we've got a hat for a hat, or if this safety happened to be slipping down into the box, we can shoot that through and work up to the safety. Again, if you remove the tight ends, if we just move the tight ends out and the defense adjusts, so now we're in a true spread look and our defense adjusts out, it still keeps it the same in the core. And now we're just controlling the backside end. If the safety were to be coming down, we'd be controlling the backside end with the threat of the naked off of our zone. That's how we would block an odd front. Okay, the last front that we discuss in our front identification is the odd stack, which has become a pretty popular defense nowadays. On the odd stack, that's going to tell our tight end that he's working out of the box again, okay? And now our tackle guard combination is working to the front side backer. We'll scoop it through for the mic, and then we'll shoot it through for the backside linebacker with our backside tackle tight end combination. We will control the backside safety with the threat of the naked. And again, we spread the defense out, remove our tight ends. The great part about the way we declare our fronts is that when you remove the tight ends and the defense adjusts out accordingly, we're still keeping it the same in the core for our offensive linemen, and now we're just controlling the end with the backside end with the threat of our naked. Okay, now that we've discussed how we identify our fronts and get a hat on a hat in our zone, let's start talking about the specifics of the outside zone play and some of the key coaching points to the outside zone. Let's start off up front with our guys up front and what we're telling these guys and how we can kind of predict how the defense is going to react to our movements. The key thing with the outside zone and what we're trying to accomplish up front is what we call lateral displacement, okay? We are trying to get the defenders to move laterally, to create spacing. And as long as our running back is disciplined in his reads and trusts his reads, which we'll talk about his reads in a moment, he should be able to gain positive yards just about on every snap. So in order for us to accomplish this concept of lateral displacement, again, let's go back and let's talk about our even rules. Our tight end is working out of the box. Our tight end tackle combination is really, they're really combination blocking out of the box, but we don't want the tight end to post this defensive end. This is what there's a difference between, it's not like we're running a toss sweep here, we're running outside zone play where we want to create stretch, we want to create lateral displacement. So we're telling this tight end, as you come off the ball, all you're doing is you hang your backside hand in the gap just to make sure that we don't give up penetration, okay? The tackle is attacking the outside V of the neck of the defender. His aiming point is he wants to get his hands on the outside breast and armpit of that down lineman. Now, if this guy is doing what he's coached to do, okay, his coach is telling him don't get reached, all right? And our guy is trying to reach him. All right. So what should happen? If they're both doing their job, then we should get where he starts to move laterally. All right. We don't want penetration. We want him to move laterally. He's fighting to keep contained. Our guy is fighting to get his hat outside, and we get what we call lateral displacement. Okay. Again, our tight end is not interfering with that because this is our back's first read, which we'll get to in a moment. Okay. Same thing along the line of scrimmage. Everybody along the line is trying to accomplish the same thing. Our guard is working to get outside hat placement on the 3 technique. Our center is working through the front side A gap, and he's tracking through this gap to the front side backer. If the 3 technique happened to slant back, our center would take him and our guard would climb. So they're working that front side combination to the backer. On the back side, it's the same thing. We're trying to get hat placement on the back side, and our tackle's working through the mic, and of course we're trying to get this cutoff block on the back side in. Now, if all that occurs and we get what we want on the front side and we get a cutoff block on the back side, it should create a lane for our running back. Now, how are we trying, is our running back going to help us accomplish this? Number one, we go back and we talked about what we talked, reiterate what we talked about in our philosophy, is that our running backs have to be very disciplined in their reads. And their reads are very simply this. They will read the first down lineman on or outside the tackle. So that is our running back's number one read, okay? If our number one read is doing what he's coached to do, and he's trying to keep his hat placement, that's going to, again, is going to create stretch and is going to create running space, okay? We give our backs, we tell them they have 3 paths that they can take. The first path is to bounce, okay? And as far as his reads go, it's bounce, bang, or bend, okay? Now, we don't necessarily want the ball to bounce. We don't want the ball to bounce out, because if the ball bounces outside, then the running back is moving east and west. We want it to either bang or bend. But as he approaches the mesh point, as the running back approaches the mesh point, his eyes are on his first read. If his first read is reached, if the tackle gets hat placement on the first read and has him reached, then naturally the running back is going to bounce the ball outside. He's got to. If he were to try to take the ball inside, there's no running space, okay? So if the first read is reached, then he would bounce it. Now he's going to pick up this block of the tight end and determine based on what's going on at this point as to where he'll either turn the ball up inside or he'll take it outside of the block of the tight end if the tight end has his man reached. We don't necessarily want that to happen because, again, anytime that the ball gets bounced, then the ball's moving east and west. We want to get north-south movement. So we're banking on the fact that this guy is doing what his coach tells him to do. And that means he's moving laterally towards the sideline. And we're not giving up penetration. We're getting that lateral displacement we're looking for, okay? So if he's moving laterally, he's running. His first read is running. Then he goes to his second read. His second read is, again, quite simply, is the second down lineman inside. It's the next down lineman inside. If the next down lineman is reached, okay, we've got the number one read is running, right? He's trying to keep his hat placement. The number 2 read is reached. He's pinned in. Then our running back knows that he is going to bang the ball. He's going to bang it right in between his number 1 and number 2 reads. So that's where the ball gets north and south, and that's where you can get some big runs, is when the ball gets banged. So he would bang it in between number 1 and number 2. Okay? Now, if his number 1 read is running and the number 2 read is running, so they're both getting lateral displacement, they're both getting displaced laterally, then he's thinking bend. That means he's going to bring it back behind his number 2 read. That's where the ball will hit. Okay? Where it hits depends on where we get a cutoff block. It's very imperative, very important that these backside blockers understand how critical their backside cutoff block is to the success of the play. So if we get the cutoff block here, then the bend will occur back through the A gap. If this guy's running, the running back may bend it all the way back behind the nose guard. But if his number 1 read is running and his number 2 read is running, he knows it's going to be a bend back. If his number 1 read is stretched, his number 2 read is reached, he knows it's going to be a bang. If his number 1 read is reached off the line of scrimmage, then we know it's going to be a bounce. So when we coach our running backs, those are the paths that they take. Okay, the next thing we want to discuss with the outside zone play is alignments and the mesh point and how critical it is for the success of the play. As you can see here, we've changed our offensive formation a little bit. We took our tight ends that were just in an ace formation. We moved them out into receivers. It still has not changed anything in the core. That's one of the things that is very critical for you to understand, is that, or for your kids to understand, is that regardless of whether we have tight ends in there or slot receivers in there, once they understand how to identify the core in their fronts, we'll always get our hats on the proper hats. So we've just moved our tight ends out into slots. but it's still an even man front, okay? So just to reiterate our blocking scheme again, that's how we'd be blocking it. Now we're working this backside in is who we're going to be controlling with the naked off the quarterback naked, okay? The critical points in alignment in the outside zone play out of the shotgun, okay, is that our running backs, we want our running backs at 5 yards depth, 5 yards depth, and they are going to be toe-to-toe alignment with the tackles, okay, from a width standpoint, all right? Our line splits up front, we want a maximum line split of 2 feet, okay? A minimum line split of a foot. So anywhere between a foot and 2 feet is going to be our line splits up front. Depending on, you know, what, if you've got a backside cutoff block on a defender, you know, this guard may cut his split down to a foot, okay? Over here on the front side, we may widen this out a little bit to 18 inches to 2 feet, depending on how the defense is playing us. But we, again, our line splits up front are 1 foot to 2 feet. Our back is lined up toe-to-toe with our tackle, and his depth is at 5 yards, okay? The quarterback is very critical of this. We tell our quarterback, we want you to line up at 5.5 yards. So he is just slightly behind the running back, all right? And why that's important is at the mesh point. On a snap of the ball, when the running back is going to take an open step, he's going to cross over. On his third step, he should be at the mesh point. And at the mesh point, we want that running back to be able to cross the quarterback at the mesh point with his shoulders square to the line of scrimmage, okay? He should be able to press past the quarterback 2 to 3 steps with his shoulders square to the line of scrimmage as he reads his number 1 to number 2 read, okay, as he progresses through his reads. Now, if the quarterback is in front of the running back, if the quarterback is lined up at a shorter depth off the ball than the running back is, or if on the snap, and what a lot of quarterbacks like to do on the snap is they receive the snap, they like to step forward a little bit. Right? They like to adjust their feet and step forward. If they do that, they're going to force the running back downhill. And if they force him downhill, either by alignment or by being undisciplined with their feet, if they force him downhill, then that's going to allow the defense to fit into the gaps quicker. As the linebackers read, they're going to start fitting their gaps, and it doesn't allow our running back to press the blocks the way we want him to. As what we're telling the running back is we want him to chase the outside hip of the play side tackle, okay? So as he's passing the quarterback, he's past the mesh point, we tell him, you chase the hip of the tackle. The tackle's hip's going to be moving because on the snap of the ball, again, he's trying to get his hat placement, and hopefully we're getting some stretch, we're getting some lateral displacement, the tackle's hip is moving, and that allows the running back to be patient in his read progression, okay? We're going to tell him, you be patient in making your read, but once you make your decision, you stick your foot in the ground and get north and south, okay? Whether it's a bang, bend, or bounce, which we just covered on the last segment. But this is very critical in alignment. Our splits up front are very critical so that we have proper spacing up front, and of course our alignment in the backfield is critical to the success of the play also, which allows our running back to press the line of scrimmage past the mesh point. All right, nowadays when you spread people out, the defense is going to have ways to adjust to you. One of the things they're going to try to do is they're going to try to cheat these defenders into the box, okay? And they're going to try to get their slot defenders basically to be able to serve. We talk about having them serve 2 masters and defending the run and defending the pass, and we're not going to allow them to do that, okay? The way that we're going to control that backside defender, this backside slot, is with the bubble. And so as our quarterback comes up to the line of scrimmage, it goes back again to the philosophy, and we talked about being able to run with the numbers and throw with the numbers, okay? And also the angles that we have. As our quarterback comes up to the line of scrimmage, we're going to have a built-in bubble with our backside slot away from the zone. So as we're running the zone play over here to the left now, again, this is an even man front still. We'll go back to our front identification. This is still an even man front. So we're working this combination now. Even though we're working to a 1 technique now, before we're working to a 3. Our center and guard are still comboing to the front side linebacker. And now we're trying to slip this through to the backside backer. We've got a hat for this front side over the flat defender. And the guy that we're trying to control now is this backside flat defender. So one way that we'll do it is by alignment. If he's trying to cheat himself into the box, then we can throw the bubble off the backside, based on the alignment of the slot. Okay, we want to have there's a couple of ways that we can block this. If the corner is at depth and this guy is lined up almost head up, we can crack him, and we can force the corner to make the tackle on the slot. Okay, if this guy's cheating in the box, he's cheating in the box, and the corner is kind of head up on our receiver, we can base block this also and force him to tackle our slot defender or our slot receiver in the open field. Okay, the things that we're trying to accomplish with this play. All right, if you think about how we can control the defense, we can take care of, obviously, we can block these guys with our line. Okay, so we've got those guys blocked. Right, we've got a hat for a hat over here. We're going to control the backside either by blocking these two guys or bubbling off of these two defenders with these two. So these two guys are going to handle these two. Now, that leaves us two players that we have to account for. The first guy is the backside end. We can't get a hat on the backside end, so how are we going to control him? Well, the quarterback is going to read him on the read zone, okay, which is kind of the hot thing in football nowadays is the read zone. So as our running back approaches a mesh point, our quarterback is reading this end. If the end is squeezing hard off the tackle's hip, he's got his shoulders turned, he's a down the line pursuer, our quarterback can pull the ball and he becomes a runner. Okay? He's now running the football. If the end is up the field at all, now we just give it. Okay? Again, this is assuming we haven't thrown the bubble. Right? So we can control this backside end with the quarterback on the read. All right. Now, what does that leave? That leaves one guy. That leaves our free safety. What our goal is by the end of the game, we want to make the free safety the leading tackler on their football team. If we force this guy to be the leading tackler, then we've accomplished one of our primary goals on offense, and we feel like we have great success or we have a great chance for success anyway in that game if the free safety is forced to be the leading tackler on the defense. So that's how we want to try to control the defenders with the zone play and the zone read. All right, one other thing that we wanted to discuss with the zone is when we go under center, what our alignment rules under center are. And then there's an adjustment that or not an adjustment, but a call that we can make to help our tackles in case they feel like that they're going to get a penetrator through the B gap, which we'll talk about here in a second. But under center, very simply, our running back now, instead of lining up at 5 yards, his depth is 7 yards, okay? His aiming point is still the same. He is still going to be chasing the outside hip of the tackle, and he's still going to read the first down lineman on or outside the tackle to the next down lineman inside. So his read progression here would still be number 1 to number 2, okay? This is what we would call an eagle front, right? We've got a reduction front here. But it's really no different than running it to the 1-5 bubble with an even man front. Okay, the only difference being is that we have our tight end up here and we have a 9 technique where our tight end treats us like odd rules, so he's going to stretch the 9. Okay, now the one thing that we have come across in the past is when our tackle, we're telling our tackle, hey, we want you to come off the line of scrimmage, we want you to reach the outside via the neck of that down defender. We want you to press through his outside breast armpit. And we want you to do all that. But then, what happens if this guy were to slant inside and penetrate through the B gap? That doesn't give the tackle much confidence to be able to come off the ball and just rip through that guy when he's worried about that B gap penetration. So we have a call that we make. We call it a pull call. Our tackle would make a pull call here. And if he thinks that the end is going to slant inside, which sometimes based on alignment, if this guy were to cheat his alignment down, or the linebacker starting to cheat out a little bit, where the linebacker becomes a straight player, and the end becomes the B gap player, our tackle will simply make a pull call. Okay, and basically with a pull call, that means that we're pulling everybody over a full gap. So our tackle now has the freedom to come off the ball And if this guy does slant inside, he still has the confidence to come off, that he's running through the C gap with the idea that he becomes the scrape backer blocker, okay? And the guard has got his back covered basically on a pull call. He's telling the guard, hey man, cover my back. I think this guy's going to slant inside, and we don't want any penetration through the B gap. So if he makes that pull call, that will pull the guard and the center combination. Everybody pulls over to a full gap to help that play side tackle, and that's one of the ways that we handle the B gap penetrators with the pull call. All right, the last thing we want to cover before we go to some film here is what we think is probably one of the best formations to run the outside zone out of in the spread offense and shotgun offense, and that's with 20 personnel. We got 2 back personnel here, no tight ends, so we're still able off the backside. Number one thing is we can still control this backside with the threat of the bubble, so we have a way to handle that that overhang defender. In the box here, okay, this is still what we would consider an even man front. And again, if you go back and look at the way we declare fronts, it's going to stay consistent throughout the course of our front declarations for our offensive line. Consistency is the key, okay? So we would still declare this an even man front. We're still running our tracks, okay? But now we have an extra blocker in our backfield with our fullback. And our fullback's job on this is he is going to block the number 4 defender weak. In this case, what we're thinking here, a lot of times we'll get a cover 4 scheme where the safety is a fall down player, and our fullback will track for this strong safety, okay? Now, the key to it, the key to the success of the play is having the fullback understand that we want him to insert himself into the blocking scheme as if he's running the ball. So it's very critical that you have a guy here that understands what the running back is seeing. Again, we go back to talking about our back's reads. He's reading number 1 to number 2, right? So as our back is coming across the mesh point, it's important that our fullback understands how he's to see what the running back is seeing. If the number 1 is stretching, okay, then our fullback knows he's got to be very patient on this. We don't want him to just run outside to go block the safety. He'll take a zone step just like our offensive line would. And if number 1 is stretching, now he knows he's going to fit inside of the defensive end, okay? And again, he's working for that number 4 defender. Let's say that the number 1 read is stretching and the number 2 read is cut off. Then the fullback knows it's going to be a bang. He's going to bang it inside. So he'll work inside of the number 1 read and outside the number 2 read and try to insert himself up to the 4th defender, okay? If number 1 and number 2, let's say the number 2 read is running. Let's say the number 2 read is running. The fullback knows it's going to be a bend. So he's got to be very patient and kind of work himself back into that lane where he knows that the running back is also working into that lane because he understands the read progression. Okay, and again, we talk about how critical the backside cutoff blocks are. But when we run the zone play out of 20 personnel, it's very critical that this lead blocker, this lead back, understand the read progression that the running back has so that he can insert himself into the blocking scheme, work for the number 4 defender, and get himself in position to make the block based on the fact that he knows where the ball is going to hit. Okay, to begin our film study of the outside zone, this is a good example of just the running back's reads. Again, this is an under center zone where we're running out of 12 personnel, ace formation. The number 1 read of the running back, again, is the first down lineman on or outside the tackle, and then his number 2 read is the next down lineman inside. And you'll see on this particular play, we give up some penetration at the point of attack where the down lineman, the first down lineman, the first read for the running back gets penetration up the field. That's not what you want, obviously, but the running back does a great job here of reading and being patient with this and then sticking his foot in the ground and getting north and south after he goes through his number 2 read. His number 2 read would be what we call he's running. He's running to keep his hat placement. So this turns into a bend play. And as you can see here, the critical block is on the backside. You see this backside cutoff block right here where the guard is coming off on the backside, and you see the number 1 read is up the field penetration, the number 2 read is running, okay? We don't have hat placement on the number 2 read, so the running back is going to bend it back. Here comes the key block is off the backside. And what we're able to do is get the ball to the free safety, which we go back and talk about from a philosophical standpoint. We want to get the ball to the free safety and make that free safety be the leading tackler on the defense. Okay, this next example here, you'll see this is where our tackle makes a pull call. We talked about having the pull call. The tackle, you'll see from the end zone copy, the play side tackle by alignment here. We look at the alignment of the down lineman. You see he's cheated a little bit inside. We see our linebackers cheating a little bit outside. So our tackle makes a pull call. This alerts the guard to say, hey, probably wind up climbing up to this linebacker. You know, you need to be ready to take this B gap defender on. And again, our tight end here is this is another ace formation. Okay, and our tight end is working. This is an odd front. We go back to our front declarations. It's an odd front play side. We've got a down lineman here, a nose guard, and our tight end is blocking man on, and our tackle makes the pull call that gets the left guard over to the down lineman. He works up to the linebacker. Okay, we start looking at some 10 personnel zone, and you know, this is more of the spread offense stuff out of our shotgun. And the nice thing about it again is that the basis of our front declarations up front don't change for the 5 offensive linemen. You'll look at this front from the back, and we'll see that this is an even front. Okay, we'll pause it right here, and we'll see that this is still an even front. Okay, for our line, there is no true Mike linebacker. Okay. So our line declares this as an even front. Our backs reads are the first down lineman on or outside the tackle to the number 2 read, which is the next down lineman. On this particular case, you'll see that both of them are getting displaced laterally, so they're both running. And again, this goes back to our backside cutoff block. Where do we achieve the backside cutoff? And it happens right here at the 3 technique. We'd like to get a better job by here. You see the combination block from the tackle guard combination up to the backside backer. If our backside tackle would get a little bit more of a piece of the 3, then we could have a little bit more of a gain here. But nonetheless, we're still able to gain positive yardage because our running back is disciplined on his point of attack rules, which are his number 1 to number 2 read. Number 1 read is running. Number 2 read is running. And the running back bends it back behind the nose guard. Gain about 8-9 yards. Okay, this is a real good example here of the bubble and how the bubble affects the safeties. Okay, what I want you to pay particular attention to is our slot receiver off the backside. We're going to run the zone over here to the left, and our slot receiver over here is going to run the bubble. You'll see that the defense here has 2 high safeties. A lot of times when the defense has 2 high safeties versus a spread look, a trips look, then the backside safety will have to have his eyes on the number 3 receiver strong in case he has a vertical release. Well, when we bubble this receiver, you'll see how this affects this safety. And what he does is it pulls him completely out of his run read. Again, it goes back to the thing of trying to serve 2 masters. You know, this safety here has really put himself in a bind because of his eyes being on the front side bubble. And here comes the zone right at him. Now the next thing I want you to look at here on this same play is the pull call by the offensive tackle. You can see the alignment of the linebacker kind of tips the tackle to the fact that it may be a pull situation. As we see right here, we've got a stack look by the linebacker and the down lineman. So our play side tackle, recognizing this, he makes a pull call, which brings everybody over. We'll wind up getting a hat on a hat at the point of attack, and the safety again is put in a bind because of the effect that the bubble has on his reads, and the ball's being run right at him. So really, that bubble, even though we didn't throw the bubble, it still affected the safety to the point where it got him out of the running lane. Again, you'll see this. The running back's reads on this, very, very disciplined in his reads, and gets him in the right spot. One thing you tell your running backs, if you want to keep those offensive linemen happy, make them right. Right here you'll see how disciplined our running back is. He presses the line of scrimmage. He presses the blocks of the tackle, chases the tackle's hip. We've got our number one read is up the field. Our number two read is running. So it's a bend back. We got our backside cutoff blocks, and our guys, our running backs off and running. We want to make those secondary guys be defenders, make them be the leading tacklers on the team. Now this is the last one I want to show you here is a pull by our quarterback. Again, it goes down to him making the read off the backside end. And this becomes a special play because of the talents that the quarterback possesses. But you can see how, just by pulling the ball when the end is crashing, that he's able to force the defense to stay on it. So let's look at this from the back. Again, our quarterback is reading this backside end. He's reading this backside end. If the end is down the line, squeezing down the line, he'll pull the ball, and he becomes the runner. And that helps keep the defense honest. We can't let this end just be a free runner that's going to trail down our zone play from the backside. So the end's trailing, the quarterback pulls the ball, and of course his talents and ability turn this into a big play. Okay, on this particular play, again, we're running the outside zone out of our trips open look. Going back to the philosophy of the offense is that if we have numbers to run and numbers to throw, we're going to run the ball first. Here you'll see that we have, 3 receivers to this side. We have them outnumbered in the passing game. But because they're playing a too high safety look, we also have numbers to run the ball. And when we have numbers to run and numbers to throw, we want to run it. The bubble, you'll see how the play side bubble, or the backside bubble, which we talked about, how it affects the free safety. Okay, the free safety, his feet freeze because of the threat of the bubble, and also you'll see on this particular play how the backside end, who's responsible for the naked from the quarterback, his feet freeze also, and that allows our running back to skirt through. Our guys get a hat on a hat up front. And you'll see our running back coming through clean. But watch the effect right here first on the backside safety, or the backside end, I should say, that the naked has on the backside end. And then you'll also see the safety, the deep safety, who's responsible for that number 3 receiver strong. He's a little bit, he's got slow feet also and doesn't get to the play in time. Okay, this snap is another example of a pull call by our tackle. This is out of a different formation. We got 11 personnel, and what we've got was what we call America's blitz. This is a zone blitz where the defensive linemen are gapping down 2 gaps and the linebackers are scraping. And you'll see how our left tackle, he handles this pull call, passes it off to the guard, and clamps off the linebacker. And when we get a stretch at the point of attack by our tight end, our running back is able to get into the secondary and force that free safety. Again, we want that free safety to be the leading tackler on the team when they're done playing us. So, and this all comes back down to the communication that takes place up front with our left tackle making the pull call and getting our hats on the right hats. All right, now we're talking about the zone out of 20 personnel, our 2-back shotgun set. Reiterating what we did on the board, our lead back is responsible for the number 4 defender to the play side. In this particular case, we're going to run the zone over here to the field, and this was an answer to the zone blitz. We love to run the zone play into zone blitz, and this is kind of an answer to that. You'll see they have a shade to the field, which based on our film study told us that was about 90% of the time they were going to zone blitz from the field. And So we check this play. You'll see, again, going back to the philosophy standpoint, you'll see our quarterback will step up and he will check the play, and that check is coming from the press box. Once we see their alignment, you see the quarterback's up checking the play, was coming from the press box, and now we run the outside zone into the zone blitz. Our lead back is responsible for the number 4 defender, okay? And that happens to be the cover down on the slot, okay? Our tackle, you'll see this from the back, is actually does a great job here of recognizing the front, understanding his scouting report, and that we want to run into the zone blitz, and he makes the pull call, which gets our hats pulled over there and gets our hats on the right hats. You see this from the backside. The quarterback, again, this is coming from the press box, so he steps up. He's checking the play at the line of scrimmage. You see our left tackle. Watch how his head pops up. This is the communication part of it. His head pops up. He checks the front. He's seeing what it is, and right there he's making the pull call to the guard who communicates it down to the center. That pulls everybody along the string. We get a hat on a hat, and we get the ball to the free safety, which is our goal. We want the ball to get to the free safety and then make the free safety make tackles. We tell our running backs at the point when you get to the free safety, he's unblocked. One of 3 things is going to happen. Either he's going to tackle you, you're going to run him over, you're going to make him miss. And then that's their opportunity to just be straight out running backs. And we'll get them to the free safety. We just want, at that point, they've got to make that guy either miss or run him over. Now you'll see here, this is another example of a blitz where our back, again, we're running the zone, the outside zone into this blitz. Our back kicks out the number 4 defender at the point of attack, and we're able to get the ball up to the safety. And anytime you get the ball to the safety, you're going to gain positive yardage. But our tackle here, watch our right tackle here. He recognizes the front again, and you'll see he makes the pull call. All right, we're looking right there. He's saying pull, pull, pull. So we pull it over, and that allows him to come off the ball and fit up on the safety or up on the linebacker. We get the ball into the secondary. All right, with the 20 personnel outside zone, again, it's very critical that, as we discussed, that our lead back, who's responsible for a number 4 defender, that he inserts himself into the blocking scheme as if he's running the ball. And here you're going to see where the lead back here does an outstanding job of reading the defense and finding, and again, he's working to the number 4 defender weak, or the number 4 defender play side, I should say, which if we count these out, 1, 2, 3, 4 happens to be this safety, okay? In our front identification, he's working towards this safety. One of the other things I'd like to point out right now is if you look at the alignment, and how we talked about how critical our alignment is, that our backs are both at 5 yards depth, our quarterback's at 5.5 yards depth, which allows our running back to stay square to the line of scrimmage past the mesh point, okay? And as we look at this, you can see the fullback again, how disciplined he is in inserting himself into the blocking scheme as if he's running the ball, and he inserts himself right up to it works himself right up to the safety, right up to the number 4 defender, and gets his hat on him. And again, we're forcing the free safety to be the leading tackler on the team. Watch the fullback on how disciplined he is through his read progression, as if he's running the ball. His number 1 read is running. The number 2 read is reached. He knows it's a bang. So he works himself up to the safety as if he's running the ball. And that's a critical point to the 20 personnel outside zone. Okay, last thing we want to talk about here is how we control the backside defenders with the bubble screen. What you're going to see here, again, we see we have a trips formation. The cover down over the slot is going to blitz, and our quarterback, who is really excellent at this, he kind of gets a feel for this. He feels the blitz coming, and instead of handing the ball off or pulling it, based on what the end does, he just throws the bubble screen out to the perimeter, and we get a hat on a hat, and we're going to force those defenders out on the perimeter to make tackles also. Again, that's an excellent job by our quarterback in recognizing the blitz pre-snap. We don't want him to play fake this. We want him to get the ball out as quick as possible, just to rotate over. We need a great accurate throw. We don't need it to to pirouette our slot defender. We want to put the ball out in front of him where he can catch it on the run and gain yardage without having to stop his feet. But that's a good example of how we control those backside defenders with the bubble screen. Again, you'll see the same thing here. This time, though, we just threw it out there because we had the numbers to throw it out there. And again, we want to make the safeties be tacklers. Okay, we've got them outnumbered on the perimeter. We've got more guys than they have defenders. So we have numbers to throw it. It goes back to our philosophy again of throw it with the numbers and run it with the numbers. And here we have numbers to throw it. So we're gonna throw the bubble screen out there and keep the defense honest. And that's a way to control the backside defenders with the bubble screen.